Welcome to the Gals Guide to the Galaxy podcast, where a group of gals gather for you one cool thing around our topic of the month. Is it ancient history? Is it breaking news? Is it safe for work? Well, that's up to each gal. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Buddy, we're recording. Do you want to open the show?
I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna read my thing. Like I was waiting for you guys. You need to
start.
open the
Where's
show.
my thing?
I've never done that. No. I'm sure.
I'm Bonnie.
I'm sure it's happened before.
I think so.
Welcome back. I'm Bonnie, and I'm joined by Katie, Leah, and Debbi talking about our one cool folk tale and myth. And I forgot what Katie's lady to say. Katie's it's like Tiamat
here. Tiamat. Oh, Tiamat.
Okay.
Okay, remember, Katie's not here.
Welcome back. I'm Katie, and I'm joined...
Wait a minute, you just said you're Katie. Bonnie's like, this
Who are you again?
First.
Who are you again?
You got this. Third time's the charm, totally.
Welcome back. Oh, hang on. Let me make sure I cross out Katie before I say Katie again.
Correct.
That's what I was processing in my head. I was like, skip over Katie.
You're like, whatever you do, don't say Katie. Don't say Katie.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Katie.
I'm going to see if anyone will notice.
Right.
Katie, beautiful Katie.
Oh, goodness. Welcome back. I'm Bonnie, and I'm joined by Leah and Debbi talking about our one cool folktale and myth. Katie already talked about Tiamat. But before we dive back in, let's get to know something random about our gal pals. Yeah. I want to know, what character from myth do you identify with?
Dun. All right. I'm going to buy Debbi some time.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a little biblical story. So in the Bible of thus which I am named after, kind of, there is a character named Leah. Now, I'm actually named after a nice old lady that came into my mom's work. She thought the lady was very nice and that she had a lovely name, but that it just so happened to be that my name was also in the Bible because all of us have Bible names. So apparently that was a thing. I do not know if my mother read the goddamn story before she named me, because the character that I unfortunately refuse to identify with is Leah. She is the borer of, I think, 7 or 9 children. She's known as the ugly sister to Rachel, who Jacob wanted to marry Rachel, worked on the farm for 7 years, and on his wedding day, as he lifted the veil, it was the butt ugly sister Leah.
Oh, lovely.
And the father said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you wanted the pretty one. You can work on my farm for another 7 years, and then you can have the pretty daughter." So he did. Meanwhile, my namesake is popping out kid after kid after kid after kid.
Oh, goodness.
He then works for 7 years, marries pretty Rachel, and she can't have him any kids. Does it stop him from calling Leah ugly and loving Rachel? No.
Oh, lordy.
So my namesake, who I unfortunately kind of identify with, but of course fight myself after, is the lady who pops out kids but is butt ugly, that nobody's first choice. Thanks.
Oh, lordy.
Leah.
Yeah. Okay. In Leah's defense.
Yes, please.
I read now it's a fiction story, but
Yes.
it's and I picked it up at a Christian bookstore, but it's her story, but it's told completely differently.
Told through her point of view.
Through her point of view.
Which I would appreciate.
And where she's not
the butt ugly one?
She's not butt ugly. She's just normal.
Right.
Her
She's
sister,
average.
on the other hand,
Yeah.
is gorgeous. And
Right.
not quite all there. She's pretty flighty. So
You're
Leah's
telling
also
me
the
she's an idiot.
Leah's also the
Yeah.
practical one.
That makes sense.
So yes, she has, and she, by the way, has 6 boys and a girl.
Oh, okay,
So,
there we go.
yeah.
Boy after boy after boy.
Boy
Okay,
after boy, and there is a girl in there somewhere.
Sweet.
And actually gets named in the Bible. Woohoo!
This is true. They have names. That is nice, right?
So yes, but yeah, it's told from a very different perspective. And if I still own the book,
yes,
I
exactly.
will donate it to the library. If I don't,
Yes.
I will try to find it and
Because
donate
I
it to
would
the library.
love to have a more empowering namesake
Yeah.
in my head, because that is what I grew up with, and we would get to that in Bible class, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh God, oh no, it's this one.
And the Bible doesn't say she's ugly. She says she has weak eyes. She just couldn't see well. So I identify with Leah really well,
Okay, there
too,
you go.
because I
Yeah.
can't see for crap. So,
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, I got that. That is
Okay.
totally fair. Who is yours?
okay.
Did I buy you enough time?
You did. And the funny thing is, the Buddhist went biblical.
I did.
And the Christian went mythological.
I like it. Yes, yes, yes.
Believe it or not, because as we were talking, the one that popped into my head,
Yeah.
Medusa.
Oh, look at that. Turning people into stone.
Well, here's the thing. Medusa was really hard to get close to.
Correct. She was a loner.
And I am not, I mean, I'm pretty sunny personality.
Yeah.
I describe myself as, somebody who's an open book, but I glue some pages shut.
Exactly. Yes, which I love.
And to get really close to me is pretty hard. And I'm pretty destructive in a relationship. And I don't remember who it was that conquered Medusa by using the mirror to get close. And I don't remember who that was.
Thesis.
What?
Thesis.
That's the one.
Theseus.
Yes.
There we go.
No,
My-
Perseus.
Perseus.
I get
Perseus.
those two mixed up. all
My
the time.
husband is the one that did that for me. And he has managed to get close and love me in spite of my little snakes.
Oh, look at that. See, is it like, well, there's also like Monsters Incorporated where she had all the little snakes who was dating Mike Wazowski.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, some of my snakes are not that cute.
Yes, no, it's fair. Some of them are in cones.
But some of them are adorable.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Fantastic. I dig it. Bonnie, what is yours?
Let's see, growing up,
Yeah.
now I feel like I identify more with like science fiction ladies. But
Right.
like growing up,
Yes.
finding the mythology stuff, I was like, I'm totally like Athena.
Right.
But like
Oh,
growing
yeah.
up,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
like it was
Athena
hard.
was wisdom.
She was wisdom. She was war. She like
Right.
sprung out of her dad's head.
Yeah.
She was both like smart and strong, but she's still a virgin, and
Of
you can't
course.
look at me or touch me. And I had a hard
Right.
time like growing up, like reading these stories. Like when you read a story, you want to identify with a character, and I was
Right.
like, all these women suck.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
This is why I blanked when you first said identify with one. I'm like, what?
I know.
Yes.
There's so many, like, oh, God. Right.
And that's what led me down the path that I have chosen.
Of your thesis
Da-da.
statement.
Yes, we're going to go back in time to apparently March 26th of 2009.
Oh, the day
Apparently.
before
Oh.
my birthday.
No,
Look
back
at
in time
Right.
to the very, very far away time of 2009,
I like it.
where I was a senior painting student and writing my thesis paper.
Ooh, I love it.
It's only 7 pages. Like I remember it being like 20.
Well,
now I'm
I'm
like, I could
sure-
write that like in a day. I'm like, I write grants longer than this.
Yes, exactly. But back then, you're like, this is the
I know.
most mighty thing I've ever written. I'm now I'm a published author after finishing my thesis.
I know.
It's not even a novella.
So when I was in art school,
Yes.
I was a giant nerd.
Sweet.
Still am, by the way. But I
And
was
proud
it
of
was
it.
early on in my feminist journey,
Sweet.
and still, I minored in classical studies.
Yes.
So I did for my work, basically complaining about the women in mythology, in particular Greek and Roman mythology.
Yes.
It was pretty much my thesis was like bitching and complaining about all this shit.
I like it.
But I was making the case of, at least in Western culture, we consider like Greek and Roman culture is like the backbone of our society.
Yes.
It's like our
Some kind of
ideal,
foundation.
like
yeah.
democracy and
Right.
arts and culture
And Olympics.
Yes. And yeah, and they were like we idealized them like way too much.
Right.
They did some weird stuff.
Very weird.
But yeah, so I was just kind of being like, hey, you know, the stuff is still relevant. We still tell these stories.
Right.
Like, I could probably get a doctorate in these stories if I wanted to. So,
Right.
like, it's still relevant in our culture, and these things keep popping up. And I just went down the list of my complaints, like a paragraph of each thing. And
Nice.
yeah, the big one that I had back then was Daphne.
Okay.
So
Remind me of Daphne.
The story of Daphne is that she was just out having, you know, fun doing her thing with Apollo.
With Apollo. She had a cheeky one out, right? Because we're also talking about, like, Greek
They
painters.
all have cheeky ones out. They're all naked. They all
Hanging
have
out with a boob out.
boobs
Yeah.
out for no reason.
Right, exactly.
No reason.
That was a
Drafty.
Spartan thing, wasn't it?
It was a lot. It was also an Amazon thing,
Yeah.
and it was
Amazon.
also a just painting
The Amazon
thing,
things, at
and-
least they had an excuse of, they usually had either one showing or they
Or one-
would show that, like,
yeah.
one was
They cut
had been
it off.
removed. Yeah,
One was
they
cut
it
off.
Yeah, so you
cut
could-
their-
Yeah.
Having done archery,
You
I
don't-
know why.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
You don't want
You're
that
I
nip
get,
caught
I
in
get
that
this.
string.
Yeah, exactly. Not again.
No. But, you know, she's a young nymph.
Okay, gotcha.
And she's just out doing her thing when
Right.
Apollo comes by, and he's just like, oh, she's just so pretty.
Of
I gotta
course.
have her.
I just can't stop myself because
So-
they're all so pretty.
So he starts, like, harassing her, and she's like, no.
Right.
And she's just running and running to get away from him.
Yeah.
And, like, he will not let up. So she finally, you know, she's crying and pleading for help. She's calling out to the gods for help.
Mm-hmm.
And they turn her into a tree. And people...
That's not help!
She's the tree lady.
The tree one. I remember this
And,
now. Okay,
you know,
yes.
And everyone's just always like, you know, they're like reading Ovid, and they're like, "Oh, this is just so pretty. She turned into a
And she
tree.
just turned into a tree. Isn't
It's
that a
like,
great
oh,
rescue?
That's not a rescue.
Correct.
No, it gets worse.
Talk about slut shaming.
Yeah, it gets worse. So after, you know, she gets turned into a tree,
Yeah.
Apollo claims that as his tree. She turns into the laurel tree,
She's
and
an-
that's Apollo's tree.
So then she's an object, and he claims that object as a trophy.
He still gets her in the end.
Yeah. And the
And,
laurels
yeah.
for the Olympics and the all that, yeah.
But yeah, in my thesis, I talk about specifically the Bernini sculpture, which, I mean, it's a great, like, it's a big, like, a talent to do that giant sculpture. Like, you can see how, like, the base of her feet is turning into bark, and her hair is, like, blowing in the wind, is turning into leaves.
Nice.
But, like, they're just, like, it's, like, a weird, they're so calm. It's not like she's like, oh, dear God, help me!
Why am I turning into
Yeah.
a tree? Right.
She's not like, oh,
didn't
this must be
choose
painful.
this.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's a great one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So glad she was saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anytime, if you see me out and about and someone mentions Daphne, I will go on a rant
See, there
any
you
time
go.
of day.
Right.
Oh. Next,
What do you got next?
Yeah. Who else you got?
we have Lita and the Swan.
Ooh.
Who?
Not Leah, Lita.
Oh,
Lita.
no.
I don't know.
So,
I think I remember this.
because Zeus is an asshat and sleeps with anything that will move.
He sleeps with his swan, doesn't he? Okay.
He disguises himself as a swan.
Yes. Okay.
And
Yeah.
there's all kinds of
Yeah.
paintings.
Yes.
There is like a life-size sculpture somewhere of a
no.
naked lady with a swan mounting her.
Oh,
And it's Zeus as a swan.
It's Zeus as a swan.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
care.
Zeus has got issues.
Oh, he's got many.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't care how handsome a swan is. It is not
Accurate.
happening.
Right.
No.
Exactly.
No,
right.
no.
Not happening.
Yeah. Truth.
Nope.
Th-
Nope.
Zeus is
And-
weird. Zeus is very, very weird.
No.
Yeah.
Same goes for if a swan is trying to like hump me.
Right.
He's gonna get kicked in the face.
Right. Exactly.
Like,
And I'm
Yeah.
gonna get
like
in
I
my
love
car
animals,
and go.
but no,
Yeah.
not happening. Next on the complaint list,
Yes. Exactly.
the Sabine women.
Oh. Okay.
It's a story of the founding of Rome.
Okay.
I guess there just were not enough ladies.
Oh no.
So the men in the town just went to the next town over and just took some ladies.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, that
Sweet.
Yeah, and
Romans.
I had some kind of quote in here from, I think it's supposed to be Romulus saying that that women would grow to love their rapists.
Oh.
And I'm like,
ow,
no.
no, oh,
Well, I mean,
That's
at
very-
least they're calling them rapists.
yeah, at least I mean
It's almost
he's
like
owning it.
women have a way of shutting all of that down. Remember that?
Oh,
For
that
What?
guy.
if a woman
Oh.
gets raped, the quote was, "But a woman has a way of shutting that whole thing
Oh,
down to not
yeah.
be pregnant."
Yeah.
Right.
It sounds very like that, but in the 2000s
dude.
instead of the Roman time.
There truly is nothing new under the sun because
Correct. We're still spouting it.
yeah.
It's like once a year, one of those dudes opens their mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
I wish
like,
it was once a year.
I know, right?
Well, like the politicians in America, it's usually a Republican will just say something like on a publicity thing, like in front of a bunch of people, and it's just like, you need to go to sex ed class, dude. Like,
Yeah.
Right. Do you even know how the
one
body
guy,
works?
that guy,
Yeah.
prefaced his little thing by saying like, "From what doctors tell me," and I'm like,
What doctor
What
you-
doctors
What
are you talking
yeah.
to?
Yep.
Like, no, he's just
No.
pulling it out of his ass. He doesn't know.
Right.
He's just trying to make himself sound
This
more authoritative.
magical,
Like-
let's just say mythic
No.
doctor that's in his
Yeah.
head.
Just like sources say.
Right. Is he talking to Zeus? Maybe Dr. Zeus.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, wait, no, that sounds better. No, that sounds like I said Dr. Seuss.
Yeah,
I'm not
no.
resin on
No,
Dr.
no.
Seuss.
No, no.
As in the Greek god Zeus. There
Right.
we go. The lightning bolt guy? Who else you got for us, Bonnie?
Okay.
Who's next on the
I'm
chopping
just going
block?
down my paper here. Apparently, for some reason, I went to just like paintings in general.
Right.
Like
that was your
neoclassical
major.
work and paintings that are like referencing it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a painting of Aphrodite. And I pulled out a quote from something of, "You painted a naked woman because you enjoyed looking at her. You put a mirror in her hand and called the painting vanity, thus morally condemning the woman whose nakedness you depicted her for your own pleasure."
Right. Who's
I've
more
dated that
vain?
guy.
The painter?
Yeah.
Or the painting depicting the vanity?
And I was like,
Let me look at this. Let me look at you. You can't look at yourself.
Right, right.
But I can sit here and treat you like this object.
Yep,
Totally.
Women as
All day.
objects.
Yeah.
Welcome to art history.
Oh.
I feel so sorry for you and for Hannah Gadsby.
Oh, I love her so much. Like, I want her to teach an art history class so
I
bad.
think it would be fantastic. Have you ever seen Hannah Gadsby's stand-up? There's two Netflix specials, and one of them she goes on this amazing rant about art history and especially women
both of
depicted
them?
in art history.
But
It's
yeah.
so
This
good.
is going to be in the show notes, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
There's also I did her for one of my things.
You
I
did.
think.
You covered
Yeah.
Hannah.
I didn't wanna give it away.
LGBTQ month.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Last year. Yes.
Oh yeah. Now I remember.
Uh-huh.
I'm like,
It's
it sounds
so
familiar, but
good.
It's so
Yeah.
good. We have a sticker that
It's
says
so
it's so good.
Yeah.
It's that one. Yes. No,
Okay.
it's a fantastic show. And the art history is like spot on.
Yes. I was so excited. Because I was like, Picasso is a giant dick.
Yes.
Like, Nathan
What
at
was-
work loves Picasso, and I'm like, dude,
No.
he's
No.
a dick.
He's a 16-year-old rapist.
Go
I mean,
get
he
and
raped
shove it, too.
16-year-old girls. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What was the Hannah quote that was like flesh flowers for your dick face?
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Flesh, yeah.
That's
Wow.
That's male artists. They're just women are flesh flowers for your dick face.
Yeah.
Hannah Gadsby.
But
I
wish
like
to
this.
look up
She says
that's
it's a
what-
lot more funny.
Yes.
No, I'm just thinking. I would like to meet this woman.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
she's fantastic.
Amazing.
She's
I
good.
think she lives here now. I think she lives in California.
She moved here.
Oh,
Yes.
I think.
California isn't here.
Well, at least she's
Closer.
Australian.
That's
Or
true.
wait, is she Australian or New Zealand? I feel
Well,
bad.
it's Australia, but she comes from
The Widow Tiny.
Tasmania.
Ah,
Oh,
below.
okay.
right.
So it's a little different.
There you go.
Still, yeah, California's relatively closer.
It's
you're right.
closer.
Much
Okay.
closer than that.
Okay, that works.
There's not an ocean.
Yeah.
See, so that was women as objects.
Right, exactly.
I have women as sacrifice.
Oh my god.
Oh.
So
We
many.
have Andromeda
Yeah.
being chained up on a cliff.
Right?
I just remember she was being chained up as a cliff as a sacrifice.
Right.
Perseus comes and saves her.
Wasn't that also edifice? Wasn't there an edifice in there? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Exactly.
But yeah, like he's
Right.
he's on his way back from slaying Medusa.
Right.
Which leads into a whole nother thing. So Medusa,
She gonna
Yes.
step on my
Was-
Medusa. and shit.
no, Medusa is not the horrible monster that we make her out to be.
Right.
She was one of
See?
Exactly.
Yes.
3 Gorgon sisters.
Yeah.
She was made mortal and ugly looking
Gotcha.
because she was raped, so against her will,
Right.
in I think a temple.
Ah.
I want to say it's the sea dude.
Okay.
I want to call him Triton.
Poseidon?
Poseidon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that or she's like the kid of Poseidon.
Right.
Or it's Poseidon's temple. Something
Something like that.
It's raped in a temple, so it's
Right.
extra
Oh.
no.
Exactly.
She
'Cause
gets
it's
punished
defined
for it.
against the guy.
Not the dude who does the raping. She gets punished for it.
That doesn't seem fair.
I forget if it was
Sounds like,
they killed her
again,
sisters
today.
too.
I know. It's too soon.
But she gets turned into that because of that. And I'm like,
Gotcha.
I'd be kind of pissed off and turn people into
Right.
stone too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
Yes.
get the
See,
hell
not
outta
my
here.
fault.
Right. There you
Yeah.
go. Exactly. You turned me into this. It's a
Exactly.
defense mechanism.
Here's what a lot of people don't know about is Medea.
Okay.
Not
Tyler
not-
Perry?
Not Tyler
Because
Perry.
I love Tyler Perry. I love Tyler Perry.
Although, like, it
I
would
don't
be
think
great.
that's the same Medea.
Damn
No.
it.
But that's maybe where the name comes from. I don't know.
It's a strong chance.
Probably.
But that is tied to the Labyrinth with the
Oh.
Minotaur.
Oh.
And that is the story of Jason.
Yes.
And Medea is the lady that helps him out, gives him the goods to solve the thing. I forget if she gave him a thing of string
Okay.
or a potion
Is this
or
where
something.
we also get MacGyver? I'm going to give you a paperclip and
better
a
be.
string. And I want you to get out of this labyrinth.
But she
Jason
helps him out.
MacGyver.
Yeah.
She helps him out.
Sweet.
She's like, hey, you know there's a giant monster thing in there. let me help you out.
Let me give you a string.
You got to take me out of here. You got to
Is this like
marry
the,
me.
The golden fleece thing?
That's a different one.
That's a different one.
one.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
but
all right,
but
gotcha.
it is still, I think,
Okay.
Jason.
Oh.
This is pre-Argonauts.
Okay,
I think,
gotcha.
Because I think it's just him.
Gotcha.
But she
Argonauts
makes a
is the
deal with him.
boat.
She's like, I'll help you, but you gotta marry me. You gotta take me out of here.
Right? There you go.
Later, he wants to have a divorce.
But can they have a divorce?
Yeah.
I mean, can't you just turn into
Wants
an
to
animal like
divorce
Zeus
her
does?
for a
then just...
younger woman.
Oh, always.
And she just kills people.
She just goes on a murder spree because
She does. I mean,
he wants to go off with a younger, and she's like, no, everybody's gonna die.
yeah. But
I mean, I've
she's
seen it
like,
happen.
She's like the only woman I hear of back in the day of having a job. Like
Oh.
she's like straight up like witch. Like she's like freaking Scarlet Witch, man.
Nice.
She makes potions and stuff. She
Sweet.
helps out Jason and his buddies, but then he wants to go and leave her for
Uh-huh.
a younger lady.
Screw you, Jason.
Yes. But that's like the only time you hear
You
of,
had
like,
a lady with a job.
a lady
Yeah.
murdering anyone.
Right.
Like that's pretty cool.
That is
like not
interesting.
cool that she's murdering people.
Right. But she's asserting herself.
At least she's not the victim for once.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I believe this thing is from this is from my Judy Chicago book that I have on my 5 recommends.
Look at you, Judy Chicago.
Da-da-da.
Oh my god.
Well, it's Judy Chicago and some dude I've never heard of.
Okay.
But But I found that book when I was in art school, and it is amazing.
Yes.
But this is a quote from it. Said, I once heard a story about a graduate art history class in the late 1970s when feminist awareness was just beginning to develop among female art practitioners. The professor was discussing a Rubens painting which featured abduction and implied rape. And I'm pretty sure it's the Sabine women or whatever. I think
makes sense.
The one. His focus, however, was upon the brushwork, which he was praising. Quietly, one female stirred murder to another. But isn't that rape? The question quickly started circulating around the room at an increasingly audible level until one of the students just burst out, isn't that rape? Followed by her outraged cry, if that's rape, how can you sit there discussing the brushstrokes?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good old Greek myths.
But they talk about getting beyond the beautiful packaging to see like what's actually going on in there.
Yeah.
I wish we could do that in the real worlds. Getting past the patriarchy standard to the real. But no, that's fine. No, it's good. I'm crying inside.
Then I go on to talk about, you get all this stuff about like rape. Like when I grew up, you were taught that instead of yelling help, I'm being raped, to yell fire.
Yell fire. That's
because everyone wants to go see a fire. No one wants to help someone to not be raped.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the irony. Yeah. Yep. I was
Plus,
the same thing.
We have to not tell what happened to us.
Right, exactly.
Because
what were we wearing?
Yeah. Because we should be ashamed of being attacked.
I had a cheeky one out.
Yeah.
I had a cheeky one out and I was in a painting.
Yeah.
Obs.
But yeah, like I wondered what classical young women were taught.
Right.
Like if you were you supposed to yell fire instead of rape?
Right. I think you were supposed to not say anything.
Yeah, I talked about trying to identify myself as one of these ladies. Just what we did at the beginning. That you were either extreme virgins is what I wrote. Extreme.
Did you put it with like an X? Extreme, like it was the 90s.
Or you were Aphrodite.
Yeah.
Or you were being raped. Like all the stories, like that's the only roles.
Those
for
are the
women.
three archetypes for women in Greek myths. Yeah, exactly.
And then for some reason I stuck Cassandra in at the end.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to remember
her story too.
I just put that down in there like I remember what the heck that is.
You're like, and Cassandra.
I'm trying to remember what
Drop the mic.
The tragedy. I know at the end she goes into the temple. She's cursed. I think she tries to pull a fast one on Apollo.
Oh, okay.
I think she tries to be like, oh yeah, I'll totally have sex with you if you do this thing for me.
Right.
And I think he gives her, in the end, prophecy, the power of prophecy.
Oh.
But she screws him over. So he's like, okay, you can still keep your power of prophecy.
Right.
But no one's going to believe you.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
So she goes
familiar.
into
like
a
all
temple to...
You have the power to see all, to know all, but nobody will believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yep. And that's how mansplaining was invented.
That's fantastic.
But no, she goes into a temple to warn somebody of something, and no one believed. Like a war was coming.
Right, yeah.
And no one believed her.
Right. Cool.
And then apparently I ended my paper from Herodotus.
Right.
With the abduction of women is, of course, quite wrong, but only fools make a great fuss of it, while wise men pay little heed, for it's obvious that a woman would not be carried off unless they themselves were willing.
Oh.
That's what that guy was reading. That
women have a way of
with
just
shutting that whole thing down.
Yeah.
That's the doctor he heard it from.
Yeah.
Herodotus.
Dr. Herodotus.
Or the friend of mine who once told me that there was no such thing as rape because all women secretly wanted it.
Oh my God, I think
Yeah.
I just exploded inside.
Fast forward 10 years later, I never said that. Yeah, you did.
Right, exactly. This is the crap that came out
Yeah.
of my mouth.
No, apparently in my
Fantastic.
bibliography, I have like a couple of books that I'm like, I don't remember reading those. I need those freaking books.
You're like, now I want to read those books.
Like, I'm pretty sure one's one of my textbooks, and one is that Judy Chicago book.
Yes,
One
which we
is-
have 2 copies of.
Classical cliches in the Woman's Review of Books.
Ooh.
And the other one was Naked Truths, Women's Sexuality and Gender in Classical Art and Archaeology.
Oh, wow.
I dig it. Why do I feel like that one might be on our wish list?
Yeah.
Maybe.
It
isn't, it should
something
be.
on there.
It soon will be. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I would
Yes.
definitely put that on there.
Oh,
Yeah, I
fantastic.
know I got a whole bunch of Mary Beard on that wish list.
Oh, love Mary Beard. We have a couple, but there's still some that we're
Love
missing.
all the Mary
Yeah.
Beard. There's
Yes.
2 Mary Beards.
There
And I
is.
love them both.
They're both fantastic. Yes.
Although I don't think I've actually read anything from Mary Beard. The second, well,
The older one
Older
or the
one.
younger one?
the
Because one is
older
still
one.
alive, actually.
Yeah,
Yes.
one is still alive and
Yeah.
writes amazing books.
One's
The
an
other one was
archaeologist,
like-
and the other one's a historian from the 1800s.
Yeah, she was like
1700s?
suffrage.
Yes.
But she was one of the early like women first writers
Mhm,
of
about
women's
women.
history.
Yeah. Exactly. And we have some really old Mary Beard books that are not in circulation, but if you come into the library, I'll let you look at them. Because they're really pretty. I'm sure there's newer versions that we are eventually going to get.
Yeah.
And those will totally go into circulation,
Yes.
but these are like 1800 editions.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so they're not in circulation. And some of them are kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, that's where I was at
In
what,
2009.
12 years ago.
I
Yeah.
feel for you.
Yes.
I feel that's a lot of
Yeah.
angst and
Yeah.
I switched
Yeah.
from, I gradually made the transition from just complaining about mythological women
yes,
to
being productive.
celebrating actual women.
Yes.
Yes.
To putting goodness out there to
Yeah.
counteract the
Yeah.
classical image of women.
Because I
Yes.
can yell and complain all I want, and I do, but that's
it won't
not gonna
change
like
it.
yeah.
It's still going to
changing things.
exist. Yes.
And still, instead you celebrate the women that said, "Screw that. That's not going to be me."
We're going to blaze a new trail. We're going to
Yeah.
do it a new way. And we're going to bring other women with us. So, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think this is a brilliant plug. I will also put Bonnie's artwork in the show notes, too. So,
Yes.
because if you haven't checked it out yet, why?
I did a painting
you gotta check that
of
out.
Lita and the Swan.
Yeah, you did.
Which was just like a field with feathers and blood. Which is like
She
that's
killed
how
that
that-
other
yeah,
effing swan.
kick his
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up for us this week. Join us next week as our next gal pal shares her one cool folktale and myth as the Gal's Guide to the Podcast continues. Thanks for listening.
For show notes, links, and images from this week's show, visit galsguide.org. Want exclusive stuff like deleted bits and major bloopers? Become a Gals Guide patron today. Thanks for listening.